We're just two guys with one mission, and we've chosen to accept it for some reason. It's time to tell them what we mean, what we say.
We just watched the film Absurd from 1981, which is a
Panamanian Italian horror film.
Great. It was directed by Joe D'Amato. Directed, lensed, and co-produced by Joe D'Amato.
Okay.
And starring the one and only
sweet-ass talent.
Sweet-ass talent of George Eastman. Okay, so let's just go through the plot. The film opens up with a man running away from another man intercut with someone doing spirograph.
None of which is explained at all.
And then it goes to a hospital, or you think it's a hospital, but there's a girl in a neck brace, and her mum is like really shitty to her.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, why didn't you do this?
It's not a neck brace, it's a form of traction.
Yeah, it's a form of traction. And then the guy who's been running around, he comes in the house and his guts are hanging out.
Yeah, no, he falls on the... He's being chased.
Well, see, I just watched this and I don't remember it.
In the process of being chased, he's trying to climb over the garden fence and is impaled on the garden fence. Hence why his guts are
and there's guts are hanging out.
That bit I was paying attention to.
And then what happens? Then he
goes to the house with his guts hanging out.
Yeah, but then what happens? How does he get to the hospital?
Then it cuts to an actual... Well, it just cuts to an actual hospital where his stomach is being patched up in quite gory detail.
Yeah, in quite gory detail. So,
which was pretty sweet.
It turns out George Eastman can heal himself.
Yep.
They tried throwing him in a river, but that didn't work. Or did they throw him in the sea? Do you not remember that?
There was...
This is like...
Of the sea. His body was placed of the sea. Because that's why it was like, no, in the sea. Because of the bad ADR. Their language was, he was thrown of the sea.
All I'm saying is that I didn't really understand what was going on in this movie. So I'm just...
Not in the slightest. He was taken to hospital, then they decide that he has this massive regenerative power.
Yes.
And his blood cells reproduce at the level 3 times... quicker than a normal human.
and the doctor describes it as absurd, which is the name of the film.
Absurd.
Then a cop talks to a nurse and gives terrible dating advice.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's racist against Greek people.
Yep, very. Greek.
Yeah, he hates the Greeks.
Hates the Greeks.
And then there's a guy who explains everything.
Does he?
And it turns out he's a priest. Why he's a priest, it's never quite made clear. It's not...
No, I mean at the end...
There's no reason why he should have been a priest.
At the end he starts doing like a Aeon Dominus type thing.
Does he?
But right at the end... When he's pointing a gun at him. Which the gun then mysteriously disappears. That's way at the end.
But George Eastman's already murdered a nurse and escaped.
Yes.
And then he goes to a slaughterhouse... because they got a good selection of knives. The guy's just hosing up some blood.
Yep.
End of his shift. Thinking, gonna go home, smoke a tab.
Could be stables.
Drink a beer.
Could be a slaughterhouse. We don't know. All we know is for a fact is there's a horse noise. we're in a room where he's sweeping up an amount of blood off the floor, and there's some knives and a butcher's cleaver because of course.
Yep. And then after he kills that fella, he comes across some bikers, and one of the bikers is Michel Soavi, the Italian director, and then he kills him.
Yeah, and there's 6 motorbikes, and only the sound of one motorbike driving around, whilst everybody is talking to the drunk man who's in the middle of the circle of bikers.
No, that was at the beginning.
For some reason.
Why do you think that was the thing? That was right at the beginning. I'm way ahead of you.
The drunk guy... Are you?
Yeah, I'm like almost at the end.
Well, no. No, the drunk guy. The first time we see the drunk guy is in the motorbikes are all like.
Oh, do you think it's the same motorbike gang?
Yes.
I just assumed it was unrelated kids.
No, I think it's the same motorcycle gang, but they're there for
So what
absolutely
you're
no
saying
reason.
is that, like, for all... I was basically thinking it was just random, but you actually think that there was, like, a logical...
I think it's a
sequence of events
Well,
going
I
on
think
here.
they had the same people who had an amount of motorbikes and were running around at 2 different points in the
Yeah,
film.
because you never saw the faces of the people riding the motorbikes.
Well, you never really understood the point of the drunk dude either.
He was
in that scene at the start, and he was in that scene at the end.
He was their cat.
Towards the end.
You know, when they're just walking around the spooky woods and then a cat jumps out.
Yeah.
It's just that this time the cat was a fully grown man.
Yeah, that was actually quite a good jump scare.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, I say jump scare. Surprising that it wasn't George Eastman.
I mean, this was very much the old style where rather than there being a loud noise, the music would just cut out.
Yeah, there's no warm.
Yeah. Oh, there's a cat. Oh, that's another cat.
There's a drunk guy.
Oh, it's just cats everywhere. Okay, so the parents are home with the kid with the neck with the traction brace,
Yes.
whatever, and to compound the shittiness that the shitty behaviour that she was exhibiting earlier, they decide, despite the fact that some random guy broke into their house with their guts out.
They're off to their mates to watch the NFL.
Yeah, to watch the Cub,
The American football
the American
game.
football,
It's the Rams and the Steelers.
the Rams and the Steelers, Breakfast of Champions.
Yes.
And then a nurse comes.
The same nurse. The short blonde head nurse.
No, it was a different.
Not the nurse that was killed, obviously.
Yeah, like a nurse comes, and then George Eastman attacks everyone, and then it just keeps going on from there. So it seems
Yeah.
like
You haven't mentioned the Damien child.
no, I haven't. But I was getting to. It basically feels like plot-wise, it was very
Man turns up, can regenerate.
front-loaded.
Yeah.
Like, they basically-
Man is there, can regenerate, kills people.
It's like they definitely put all the story. Like they combined
Story?
it. Well, the exposition, so we say.
Right. Still not sure I'm good with exposition.
Well, basically, like the plot of the movie, they put that at the beginning, and then the last 45 minutes was basically just people screaming.
Yeah. It was regenerative man chasing people around the house. People keep turning up to the house.
Or not.
People keep leaving the house. Other people turn up to the house.
Yeah.
The people who left survived.
Why
the
this
people
house?
who came got
It's
killed.
not clear why
No.
he ends up at that house.
No, not in the slightest. It's like ending up at home.
Why he's in that.
in Clockwork Orange. It's just the house that's
Yeah,
there.
but why he ended up there at the beginning and why he ended up at the end? It's like it seems like there's like one hospital and 2 houses.
Yeah.
So there's a limitation. So
Yeah.
people are going, oh, I might as well go to the one I've already been to because I've been there.
Yeah.
So it's comforting. It's
Yeah.
like a home cooked meal,
Like a warm blanket.
a warm blanket of murder.
Yeah. Why not?
Um,
And people keep turning up, so why not just keep killing them?
Yeah, or leaving. And even when they've left, they do try to come back in.
They do.
And they try to set up this subplot of the youngest son being really evil, but and that goes nowhere.
I'm not sure they were setting it up as him being evil. I think he just looks.
He's just
I
sitting
think he
there
just looks
grimacing
really fucking
the
evil.
entire time.
Every single shot of him where he should be a kid, happy at play, watching TV and such, he just looks angry as shit and really
Yeah.
evil.
Or happy, but with tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
Or like he seems very nonchalant. In certain moments, like when he's like, "Oh, the boogeyman's here. He's gonna kill us," and he's like, "Oh, we've got to get out of here." No.
Or knocking on the locked door of the girl in traction, going, "Get up, get up, get up," because that's his sister, and he should know that she.
So
cannot
now we
get up.
watch it. What do you think? What do you think it means? Do you think there was any subtext to it whatsoever?
No,
Do you think it was just about?
I think there's no subtext to this film whatsoever.
You don't think there's any subtext to this?
Not in the
film?
slightest. It is literally a man running away from another man, gets injured, goes to hospital, fixes himself. They do a little surgery on him, but he essentially fixes himself. Then goes on killing rampage. That's it.
Yeah, but maybe it's
guess.
about maybe it's about the how people don't want to do their jobs, because if the
Well, yeah, the parents do skip out on doing their parent
do-
job.
like,
They leave their children to go and watch
like
the
they
football
left
game.
this guy who had broken into a house with one nurse,
Yeah,
even though they know that he can regenerate.
yeah.
Like it's just it's a comedy of errors. Really.
It really
It's
is.
very much like National Lampoon's Vacation.
I mean, one thing does lead to another.
One thing,
Without the previous thing, the next thing cannot happen.
I mean, all the guy wants to do is run away from the priest guy, who we don't know is a priest.
Until at least an hour in.
And then
Because he's intentionally hiding his priest collar as well. Even when the police are interviewing him, he's got his hand up to his chest, intentionally holding his jacket together to hold his priest collar. Why? Oh,
well,
but he is doing
which
it.
is very forward thinking for 1981.
Is it though? Because there is that bit later on where he's kind of touching the kid and it's a bit
Well,
weird.
he's not touching the kid. Let's put this in context.
Could be.
He's not touching the kid. He's basically
What we know now and what they knew then.
He does reach out to the kid, and then the kid turns up crying, but he seems okay.
He presses him to his midriff.
He seems okay. And then the girl who's in traction,
Yes.
not in a neck brace, in traction,
Somehow frees herself from that.
frees herself, and then
As the final girl of the film.
cuts the guy's head off. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that she would have been the final girl.
She
I
cuts his head
assumed-
off by what looks like hitting him in the back with an axe.
Yeah. I assumed it would have been the nurse.
Yes.
Would have been the final girl because they set her up from the beginning. Though I guess they did set up the girl in traction.
But she's one of the few people that knows that he can only be killed by destroying his cerebral mass.
Yes.
I have so many issues with that. And still goes for his neck with the scissors.
Yeah.
A couple of inches up, she could go for the temple, hit his cerebral
mass.
Inverted commas.
I think we can both agree that.
I mean, she was also stuck in an oven for what seemed like 10 minutes. Either being asphyxiated or burned.
Yeah, she got killed by oven.
There was still never really the oven. The oven was on.
Yes,
but we never saw her and the flames in the same shot.
She was being slow roasted.
Yeah, but wouldn't his hands also be being slow roasted at that point?
Because George Eastman does look like a hipster.
He does.
So it makes sense that he would try to make an artisan murder.
Artisanders. Bake. The spirograph finally comes back into play.
The spirograph comes back into play by blinding
eye gouger.
As an eye gouger.
Eye gouger. The only time
so actually, a lot
the only time he moans in the entire film, he's been shot multiple times. He's had his guts hanging out. The only noise he makes for the entire film is when he has his eyes stabbed. Again, is that worse than being shot? Is that worse than having your guts hanging out after hanging over the top of a wrought iron fence?
I don't know.
I mean, I've never had any of those three, but I imagine some of them would make you moan. Weird. Did you think maybe it was the old switcheroo and that actually the guy being chased would eventually end up being the good guy, and the guy who we didn't know at the time was a priest was the bad guy?
No,
when
I
this
did
film
not.
first started, I genuinely thought the priest was going to end up being the bad guy.
No, I didn't give this movie that much credit.
I really thought that for about the first half hour, until the drill through the nurse's head, which looked fucking sweet. I genuinely thought the priest was going to be the bad guy. Because it's the old, like, oh, well, he's chasing him, so...
Well, it turns out that he kind of was the bad guy. It turns out George Eastman is a man who was experimented on in a church-sanctioned scientific experiment.
What?
Church and science, never thought I'd read that together, that gave him a healing factor, but inadvertently drove him insane. So
was that explained at all in the film?
I guess.
Was
but
it
like
though?
my memory of
I
it...
don't remember any of
My
that.
memory of it being explained was like going, well, we found out that he could regenerate himself, so we threw him in the sea, and then he came back, and we were all out of ideas.
Right, but
so
there's no church-sanctioned experiments, and...
I mean, it's very unclear where this film is set,
Yeah.
so we don't know whether he just
Probably
he
America
walked,
because of the NFL thing.
yeah, whether he just walked the ocean.
Also, why was all of the NFL stuff in slow motion?
I don't know. I don't know.
That was weird
I
to me.
assumed that NFL was in slow motion anyway. Just
No, it's a very. It stops and starts. It's very quick, and then it's really boring adverts, and then it's really quick, and then it's really boring adverts. But every single piece of footage of the NFL was in slow motion, which, considering they were supposed to be watching the game live, was very odd to me.
I didn't notice that. Well, maybe time moved slower in the past. Have you thought about that?
No.
Well, because I'm reading the summary
That makes
now.
more sense of my theory, which I thought was absurd, which was the priest is the bad guy.
Absurd.
Ding,
ding, ding.
I genuinely thought that at the start, but then he starts murdering people with drills through the head and that fucking sweet meat slices through
Because he's mental. That's basically
or misunderstood.
Well, he definitely said that. The priest said in the hospital. He said it's like but every time he regenerates, it kind of doesn't do a very good job.
Yeah,
so
I do remember
he's
that.
gone mental.
Well, I guess, but that would only work if it was brain trauma. So he would get more and more mental.
But I'm reading
if it's physical trauma, then it wouldn't affect his.
Well, who knows?
His psyche and such.
I'm reading more of the plot here, and it says that while attacking a motorcyclist, he's struck by a car.
That's true.
And it's true, he was.
The motorcyclist was.
So maybe that's why he went back to the house. But how did he know it was the same house? Because the guy wasn't home when he. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm going back to the house because I think I need help because I've just been struck by a car. But instead of help, what I'm actually going to do is murder a bunch of people.
I'm trying to find logic in a thing that has no logic,
whatsoever. No, makes no sense.
But in general, I liked it.
I fucking loved it. It was a great film. I went into it thinking this is going to be absolutely fucking god awful. It was fucking brilliant. The gore effects were really, really good. I really enjoyed those. Like I say, the splitting the guy's head down in the slaughterhouse, that was slaughterhouse stable, whatever it was, on the what I think is like a meat cutter. So I'm guessing that's.
I guess it was.
I guess that makes it a slaughterhouse.
I guess it was like a slaughterhouse.
But that was fucking brilliant.
I guess it was like a slaughterhouse / woodworking department.
Because there were certain effects that you saw all the way through, like the drill through the head. You saw pretty much every bit of that.
Yeah.
But him getting hit by the car was literally a shot of a dude in the car and a shot of him on the side of the road. Shaky cam. And then he falls over.
Oh, I'm on the ground.
And assorted shots of the guy with his motorbike by the side of the road going, oh no.
Oh no, I'm Michelle Suave. I better direct the sect.
Yeah. But then, like, the dude with the saw down the head, that was really fucking well done.
I mean, it was very random.
Grim. Like, when you see the skin split and stuff, it's just like, oh, well, that's where the money went. And then when you get the dude getting hit by a car, it's just like, oh, they spent no money on that whatsoever. They just did shaky cam and...
Well, I think it's clear that this didn't cost a lot of money.
No. Also highlighted by possibly the changing of film stock all the time.
But we don't know whether this film stock was... But we can't expect that.
But then I wouldn't like to think that they would delete scenes because they added nothing to it. It was literally like... And here's a really terrible shot on terrible film stock of the dude stumbling down a corridor or some people coming into a house. It wasn't like, oh, that's a cut out gore effect or something like that, which you usually get with horror films. It's just like the stuff that gets cut out and then put back in is usually the, this is the bit that was banned and we had to take out the NBA or whatever. That's usually what gets stuck in fucking terrible quality. But the stuff that was in terrible quality in this was, like I say, like a dude stumbling down a hall or a bunch of people coming in to watch the NFL, or
it was definitely
so. Well, I don't know. The inserted shots seemed.
It definitely seems like one of those
third generation VHS.
Yeah, like a kind of Vipco quality DVD. So it's difficult to tell how these shots were arranged. It definitely wasn't a restored version or anything like that.
No, not
personally, I didn't mind it. It's just there was so much insanity going on that I was kind of.
Just along for the ride at that.
I was kind of comfortable with just like going, okay.
Yeah. I've no idea what's happening, but what is happening is pretty cool, and I'm watching that. Music was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Music was excellent.
Yeah.
And again, I went into this thinking 81 low quality horror film. This is going to be fucking god awful.
It's a very
it was
ELP goblin-esque.
Yeah. Yeah. The better bits of ELP,
which really suited the kind of ridiculousness.
Yeah, there was enough rock in the prog to make the music completely enjoyable. Like I said, gore effects were good. Acting was George Eastman was fucking brilliant there.
Yeah, George Eastman,
Like as a
hero.
whatever the fuck he was brilliant at it.
All right, you want to do scores?
Yeah.
All right.
Alright.
What would you give it out for story? 1.
The story was almost non-existent. It was literally regenerative man kills people. What we actually saw was gobbledygook.
Yeah.
It was there's a man chasing a man, one of the men gets injured, man regenerates, kills a bunch of people.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it a 2 on the basis that I liked the way that I couldn't really predict the reasons for any of this stuff. Like it seemed.
But that's a mark down for a story.
No,
surely
not for me.
Surely the story should be I know what's going on.
No, not for me. But basically, like I was like watching it and like going, okay. I mean, I would give it a higher mark, but then basically it just trailed off.
Yeah, I mean, none of it.
For me, the story just trailed off. But when it was setting up, it was like, oh, he's fucking infinite or whatever, and we dumped him in a lake,
Right,
and now he can't be died.
But the last half hour is literally just
the last
man chasing a bunch of people around.
So I'm going to give it I'm going to give it a 2.
All right.
Okay, for gore, what would you give it for gore?
I'd say 3 because it's not excessive, but what there was really good.
Yes, I'm also going to go with the 3 because I've seen much gorier films. But for the when it was on screen, I was having fun.
It was great.
Yeah,
like I say, I the head slicing scene especially, I thought was excellent. Because you saw the skin split, you saw, blood from a head trauma, like stuff like that. That was excellent.
For overall creativity, what would you give it?
I mean, it's hard to say because, again, it's not an intricate plot. It's not a clever story. It's 2, I guess. I'm
also going to give it a 2.
There wasn't enough to it for it to be kind of like, oh my god,
But I will give it some points because it was sort of like a zombie movie.
Yeah.
But they didn't really want to do it like that.
Sort of a zombie, sort of a superhero movie.
Yeah.
This man is a Superman. He can come back.
Okay, and logical sense.
None whatsoever.
Okay, you're giving it a 0. I think that's a 0 for me too. Music, I'm gonna give it a 4.
I'm gonna go 4 too.
Because I think it was really good, but it wasn't particularly original, I would say.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Every time it kicked in, it's just like, oh, this sounds like Goblin, this sounds like ELP. But it was fucking brilliant, and it rocked, and it built.
Yeah.
At the start, there's almost nothing. That's why I paused that bit when I did, because it was just like, oh, you've got to hear this bit, and it just starts building and building, and from there, from the woman walking through the forest on her own scene. The music just built and built and built from there, and then by the end, it's just like da 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 da. It's like fuck yeah,
and it gets an extra 5 points for George Eastman.
Oh, absolutely,
because it has George Eastman.
He was amazing.
Okay, I've added it up for a total score of 21 out of 50.
Yeah, okay. That sounds about right.
Okay, final questions. Should it have been banned?
No.
No.
I mean, I can see that the only bit that I think, even at the time, given that you'd already had what you'd had before this, I think the only bit that maybe, or the only thing that I think that probably did get it banned is the oven bit, because it goes on for a long time.
Yeah, it's quite gratuitous.
It's a ginormous man pushing a small woman into a lit oven.
Yeah.
And it goes on for a long time, considering what that scene is. That's probably what got it banned. But
it reminded me of the
it's more of a terror thing rather than a gore thing, and I think that's probably what they were looking at.
It reminded me of the hammer scene in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where the old man's like he's just, and it's like this torturous.
This is going on too long.
Yeah, it's very upsetting because it just keeps going.
If you'd cut it in half, probably not banned. Again, for the time, I mean, 81, you'd already had so much by then. So the things like the head splitting thing or the axe through the face, that was also fucking sweet. We didn't mention that. You'd already seen stuff like that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Dawn of the Dead had already been out, so that...
Yeah. But then this doesn't have a comical soundtrack and doesn't have pies in the face.
No. Would you recommend it, Steve?
Absolutely.
I would recommend it also. I think it was a good time.
Yeah, it was a really good fucking film.
And it was...
Don't watch it on your own. It's probably a bit boring on your own.
Yeah, I think if you're going to get some friends over
Yeah, with this on, it's a good time. It's an hour and a half.
90 minutes of your life well spent.
Couple of drinks, fucking why not? It's
Yeah.
great laugh.
All right, let's do the next one.
Thanks.